Mr Heasting is a 46-year-old resident of Mawlein Mawkhan village under Umsning block, Ribhoi District. Mr Lyngdoh has been engaged in construction work and beekeeping, in spite of encountering several challenges, most of which are financial in nature. With support from his wife and children and his own initial capital of Rs 10,000, Mr Lyngdoh decided to take up candle making as a supplementary livelihood activity to support his family. Though at the time he was still unsure on how to go about expanding his business. However, in 2014, Mr Lyngdoh met with an enterprise resource person and had productive discussions on how to further his business, and he accordingly registered with the Enterprise Facilitation Center in Umsning.
Na kaliang jungi ngile ka training need assessment hadin bila wan register but adin kato ngila pha ni training ng bajong ka MIE ka training ka benkong ka bangi pha ka desya ka EDI Gujarat ka Entrepreneurship Development Institute sa Gujarat hadin bila kam sedang bahaya ka kam ngila pha ru iki way training ka de hap lot ka packaging ka bangi pha sa Mumbai but ka way sa Kerala.
Following this, he approached the Basin Development Unit for help in preparation of a business plan to further expand his activities. The BDU reciprocated the request by preparing and providing a feasible business plan, complete with linkages to banks and registration at the District Commerce and Industry Centre, Nongpo, to help him avail the Prime Minister's Employment Generation Programme scheme.
Langba Assistant Manager of Enterprise Development. Nakoi report sa kuway pat ngila persang ban pentok ki business plan, ban business proposal ban pa sa ki bank. Henry ki bank ki don la ka jong kor kom trekam ka jong ki te kita ki proposal usne ban kong ngim simlala ban urlong ka. Hadin ka tu padeng ngila ajmudi ban le no lembaga PMGP. Te nomor ba mairu ila register bat ka DCIC ila juyo jingerap nakoi report sa kuway pat na DCIC ro. Kalau ka kam suksusu nak kata jungi ban yo ya ka PMGP ka amount ka bai apply nak kata ka PMGP ka dei sanlak prapo but ka amount ka sanction pada ka dei saulak sanpo
lang ba ka jingi rap jungi ban punyo ya ka scheme na po DCIC lang ba jung ka state bank nang tapa de ya ka jing pelat jingi ni ngasoy alat ban thit ya ki mission ki bahe ki basung dor kumba arlak rupo jari ki ai nga hadin pak dia sa silak prapo bangan thiet ya kini ki ro material ki bolong working capital.
Mr Heasting buys raw materials from states like Assam and Kolkata. About 3 tons of wax is bought on a monthly basis at a total cost of Rs 90,000. Besides wax, he also buys wick for his candles. He orders them in bulk from Kolkata, where the price per kg is Rs 150. Mr Lyngdoh also buys dye for his colored candles. He buys 4 different colors for half a kilogram each from suppliers based in Kolkata. The cost of dye per kilo is Rs 2,200. For packaging of candles, Mr Lyngdoh buys 150 kg brown paper rolls at a cost of Rs 4,000 each. The packaging and labeling design is prepared within the factory premises, whereas the printing process is finished off at Shillong. Mr Heasting set up HL Candle Mega Brand Factory in the year 2014. Where he employs 5 staff members whom he pays a monthly salary of Rs 4,000 each. These aside, he also has staffs who are still college students and they are only permitted to work for him after college hours. He would divide his employees in groups of 2, where one group is tasked with looking after the manufacturing process, while the other takes charge of packaging.
Matang lalit jeng ka BA second year, teng aku awan pendep ekon kecing kuliah, tak kadang wan ban sayang ni jeng ban yo kecing kasan nama hayeng tong ye duna penghidup dia kuat ban kasan telah dia mensuan kong par nimpat nang ban tep nimpat situ kumna ban lek kumna ban dang ke no kan kam ndai minta pat lai ya dimentai sibun mga tingalalit ni training mga kila pa training iba nga hang tepo umran artisti ngalit jang kaneka floriculture Yang layo kerja mentah yang turut sibun ngalanang ban tiang ikan tu
Mr Lyngdoh manufactures candles from different wax such as jelly wax, paraffin wax and beeswax. The most common wax that Mr Lyngdoh uses to manufacture candles is paraffin wax. Mr Lyngdoh has to heat the wax for about half an hour using firewood. During the process, he would use 25 kg container and 100 kg of wax is used per day, and from this a total of 1400 candles measuring 7.5 inches are manufactured. While the wax is prepared, Mr Lyngdoh would start tying the thread around the machine in the shape of a 7.5 inch candle. The thread should be tied very gently and carefully so it doesn't break in between. The broken thread in between will melt the candle faster than usual when burned. The machine should be then locked properly. After melting, the wax is then taken out of the container into a bucket. The wax is then poured into a machine to form 7.5 inch candles. The process takes about 3 to 4 minutes until the finished product is complete. After 3 to 4 minutes before the candle is taken out, the top part of the cover is scratched until clean, and the thread is cut before the candle dries out. But scratching the candle could create rough edges, so a rounded wooden stick is used to roll over the candle to create smoother edges at the bottom. After this process, the machine is fully opened and the candles are collected. But the candles are not ready yet. They are still soft and have to be straightened. The candles are then taken to another section of the factory, and here the thread is cut to separate the candles. The candles are placed together in line and rolled back and forth until straightened. The candles are then placed in one corner where the packaging process will take place. Mr Lyngdoh cut a certain length of brown paper roll to make a packet. The brown paper is then rolled into a 7.5 inch wooden board. To stick the packet, self-made sticky glue is prepared and applied onto the paper. To make it more attractive, a well-designed label is stuck onto the packet. The back label is again applied with sticky glue to seal the packet, after which the wooden board is taken out. 6 pieces of candles are taken from the stock and placed inside the packet. The back label is again applied with sticky glue to seal the packet. And now the candles are ready for shipping. Mr Heasting also specializes in colored candles. Colored candles are processed with paraffin wax and powdered color or crayons depending on the availability of raw materials. In this case, Mr Lyngdoh is using crayons. Crayons are added into the wax and mixed properly. Like paraffin and beeswax candles, colored candles are also prepared in molds imprinted in various shapes and sizes. The mold has to be brushed properly to avoid any dust or dirt. In this case, since the candle is bigger in size, the thread is tied twofold so the candle burns slower and brighter. The other side of the mold is also brushed properly, and then it is locked tightly. The colored wax is then poured into the mold. The final product will take about 4 to 5 minutes to finish. 5 minutes later, the thread is cut to separate it from the mold. The edges at the bottom of the candle should be rubbed or cleaned properly. Keeping the candles to dry longer than usual will create difficulty in rubbing or cleaning the edges. The candle is then taken out of the mold, and now the candles are ready for shipping. For beeswax candles, Mr Lyngdoh buys honeycomb from local beekeepers. The process to prepare beeswax candles is by placing the honeycomb in a container. Then add water just above the honeycomb to separate unwanted particles from the comb to form beeswax. After half an hour, the honeycomb starts melting, but the process doesn't end here. To separate the wax from unwanted particles, the wax is poured into a smaller container covered with a cloth. To speed up the process, the container with the wax is placed inside a bigger container with cold water in it. Few minutes later, the wax turns dry. and since the wax has dried up, it needs to be cut from the edges to separate it from the water. The water here is the same that was used to heat the honeycomb shown in the first step. Since the lower part of the wax is still covered with unwanted particles, it is thoroughly cleaned before heating up again to make beeswax candles. After heating the wax for about half an hour, it is then poured into a mold specifically designed to form candles of different shapes and sizes, depending on the demand of the customers. 5 minutes later, the thread is cut to separate it from the mold. The edges at the bottom of the candle should be rubbed or cleaned properly, while the candle is still soft. Keeping the candles to dry longer than usual will create difficulty in rubbing or cleaning the edges. According to Mr. Lyngdoh, he added no color in the beeswax while processing since he wanted the beeswax candles to look natural and pure. Mr. Lyngdoh has disclosed that he enjoys working more with beeswax candles since the raw materials are locally found, and in doing so it would collaterally benefit the livelihood of beekeepers in the state. Marketing of all finished products is done by a number of traders who supply the products to retail markets in most areas of Khasi Hills. Other than the local markets, he would also advertise his products to other states in the country.
Gini ngapa Asia West, bat Ribhoi Shillong. Dia teng-teng gidon gi order pada Sabar di state. Gidon lai sautli UP ki bangi fa hadu sepo Gujarat. Kita gi bangi sai fa ki sai. Order ki tiar ni ke. Kadiman kacur bahaya habede begini gitiar. Ki kumolong mentakum sajentia. Namar kalau ajur kadiman ngam sola syuk ben positif. Tinggal sedang ban expand sa kawe gabran ben hapo jentia hil hapo sutengah. Tihang te menta kan syuk sedang kadang rit kan polong hadukane. Debat ngak bilti bahang te suki-suki dengan salah berpenhe ka. Bat kawe ru kalau kum kalat aikam yang gitu ginong sedang tu gide ginong gendong.
Mr. Lyngdoh has since bought bigger machines and has also been able to produce many more candles. Candle making has not only lifted his economic status, but it has also helped him gain a new identity, a model example for those aspiring entrepreneurs who can learn and be motivated to do the same.